It is Wildcard Weekend time here on Turf and Touchdowns podcast, where we are looking forward to each and every wildcard game. We're going to be here throughout the entirety of the playoffs as well, through until the Super Bowl. Myself, Luke Elder, alongside Tom Collins. One of our teams made it, Tom. One of ours.
Yeah, I was going to say, where are the Seahawks, man? Actually, to be fair, though, Seattle did have a good year. It's not like you were really bad this season. You just kind of got a little bit unlucky, right?
Yeah, we missed out on about 1,000 scenarios where we made it in. And I think we're the only ever 10-win team to not make it into the playoffs. So it's good, albeit no one really expected it. Like, for Mike McDonald to be a 10-win coach in his rookie season, I'll take that. I think we're in good hands.
Yeah, I don't think you had a bad season at all. You just got a little bit unlucky. There were games that you should have won that you didn't win, but that's very much Seattle Seahawks. It's kind of what happens. And to be honest, if you made it to the playoffs, I don't really think you'd have gone very far anyway. Kind of the same with us, the Green Bay Packers. If you've not tuned in, I'm a Packers fan. I don't really think we're going to get beyond the wildcard weekend, but we're going to be talking about that game and all the other games, aren't we? In this podcast where we're covering the Saturday games, and then in the secondary podcast where we're covering the Sunday games too.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Seattle lost heavily to the New York Giants when Daniel Jones was there.
Yeah.
If that's the difference between making the playoffs, we don't deserve to be there, so we're all right. But you know what good thing did happen in the world, Tom?
Go on.
450 subscribers.
Come on.
In fact, 452. Not to get too big. But let's go for 500. Let's go for 500 by the Super Bowl. I reckon that's doable.
I think so as well. I mean, why? Come on, guys. We provide winners. Whack that button. It takes you 1 second. We're up to 500. If you're the 500th subscriber, maybe you get a prize. Who knows? We haven't decided yet. I've just kind of spurred out there without even consulting Luke. But maybe there is a prize. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. But that's to come in the future. Thank you guys for getting us to 450. If you are new here on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, you're looking for something different for the playoffs, you are very welcome. And please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave your comment as well who you think the Super Bowl winner will be. We'll discuss that in a few moments' time. But we also have a sponsor here on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast in the form of our friends over at SBK. They've got a new app. Go download it. If you place £10 in free bets, you'll get £10 in bets, you get £40 in free bets. I've been doing that all season and I'm still crap at it. Literally. I've said that so many times, it's still pulling up. Place £10, get £40 of free bets for new customers, and also you get the Acca Boost on the weekend. That's going to be big as well in the playoffs. 25% boost on accumulators on the NFL at the weekend. And if you are new here as well, Tom will aggressively point.
There's a link in the description below. Please do sign up. It helps you, it helps us, it helps SBK, it helps everyone. You get a new betting account where you get to take advantage of these offers and the free bets that Luke's just talked about there. We get sponsorship for the remainder of the season, hopefully going into next year, and obviously SBK gain a new customer as well. So it's just great for all parties. Please, if you are interested in signing up for SBK, to take advantage of those offers, whether that be for the NFL, football, horse racing, anything, any sport you like, then there is a link down below. Do it via that link. It takes you straight to the sign up page. No faff, easily done. I will also say I've been in talks with the guys at SBK this morning, in fact, and from next week onwards in the playoffs, they're also going to be running a first touchdown scorer bonus. I don't know whether it's going to be an increased price or what it's going to be, but I know there's going to be a new offer for first touchdown scorers in all playoff games from next week onwards. So that could be of interest, not only for maybe tips at big prices for us, but also for you guys at home if you enjoy betting in that market.
Look at you with the guns out today.
I wouldn't call them guns. It's just, I've turned the heating on, mate, and I've made the mistake. of putting it on 23 degrees, and I am now piping hot.
Look at you with the noodle arms out today.
More like it. I'm more Devontae Smith than AJ Brown. I think I can say that.
Correct. Yes, I can confirm that you are more Devontae Smith. I think I'm more like offensive lineman, but especially after Christmas, we went hard on that bit. Let's just before we get into things properly, we're going to be doing 2 videos this weekend. We're going to be doing the Saturday games, which are only 2 of them, and also the Sunday games going into what could be a Monday night game, depending on what happens with the Rams game. Obviously, with the fires in LA at the moment, things are sort of progressing at regards to that, but there's a contingency plan to possibly play that game in Arizona on Monday night, but we'll hopefully know more in the next couple of days or so. Tom, give me your Super Bowl winner.
Well, I'm going to be with the Baltimore Ravens still, and it's part of actually, this is going to integrate lovely into our where we talk about our Antepost regular season bets. I put up the Baltimore Ravens as an Antepost play at the start of the year at 12-1, I think. They're currently 6-1, around third or fourth favourites. I'm going to stick with them. I don't see a reason why I should basically jump right now, move from the Ravens to someone else. Their offense has been firing. I saw this interesting thing on Twitter the other day, and I'll keep the waffle to a minimum as everyone's here for tips, about how well these teams have done that are now in the playoffs against other playoff teams during the regular season in terms of points scoring and points conceded. The Baltimore Ravens are something like plus 116 points compared to the playoff teams when they played them during the regular season. They are way at the top. They've done very well against the good teams in the league. So I like the Ravens, man. I think they've got a great chance of winning. KC were one of your Antepost plays, I think. And are you sticking with them?
I think they'll get there. But I like Detroit. I honestly, I'd like Detroit for a lot of the season, and then I went off them when their whole defense got rocked and they just got hurt. Last week, they were so much better. I mean, against San Francisco, they sucked. It was absolutely dreadful. Brock Purdy dissected them. He made 2 bad throws to Kirby Joseph, and Kirby Joseph picked off both of them. But they looked dreadful in Week 17. Week 18, they looked incredible. It was a must-win game. Alex Anzalone came back. He was a big, big factor. Amik Robertson, they moved him out to cover Justin Jefferson in man coverage, and he was absolutely sensational. So the Lions look to be getting there, and they got 2 weeks off now as well to get healthy just that little bit more. They look to be getting David Montgomery back, and even Aiden Hutchinson is saying, well, if the Super Bowl is about, I might be able to play in the Super Bowl. They might just be getting fit. They are a very, very good unit. I think it'll be Detroit against Kansas City, which is not left field thinking in the Super Bowl. However, if they play in the Super Bowl, that'll be a heck of a game. I think we're due for a good Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I do too. It's been quite a while. I mean, most Super Bowls are a little bit disappointing because everyone puts so much kind of weight on defense, don't they? So it can become very tactical in a defensive battle. But I think we're due an offensive one, especially if the Lions get in. I mean, there's going to be loads of points. On your point, I mean, Kansas City and Detroit are obviously the 2 front runners at this stage with home field advantage. I saw a stat again about teams with home field advantage, number 1 seeds. Home field advantage with a bye in the wildcard round. 76% of Super Bowls have featured at least one of those teams. So it's highly likely that either the Lions or the Chiefs, or maybe even both, get to the Super Bowl. I think the Lions are more likely to get there than the Chiefs, but who knows with Patrick Mahomes? Anything can happen.
Yeah. I mean, this time last year, Kansas City woke up and they started playing football because they were dreadful for the whole of the regular season. They were still winning, much like they are this year, but they were different gravy in the playoffs. We'll quickly discuss our anti-post bets for the season because we've been here a while. If you're just finding us, we've been here for a long time, since about last May. We put up quite a few anti-post bets. We had a fair bit of success with them as well. We did an episode where we had to predict our own teams. We didn't do too badly predicting our own teams. I put up 3 Seahawks bets. I put Geno Smith over on passing yards, and he absolutely crushed that. I put Jackson Smith and Jigba. His line was 750 yards for the whole season, and he beat that about halfway through the year. Unfortunately, Ken Walker didn't land, but Ken Walker also got hurt. But with him, that's a guy that you're always going to be sort of worried about injuries. And on the Packers side of things, you did well, kind of sticking to type by not going for the Packers.
Yeah, well, this season it's just not worked out for me with the Packers. I mean, I did put up one anti-post Packers play, which was Jordan Love over 3,800 passing yards, and he fell short, but he did miss a couple games. I think it was 400 yards short. If he played the whole season, he would have covered, more than likely, but he didn't. But I did put up the Detroit Lions to win the NFC North. 11-8, that was. What a price in hindsight. They've obviously gone beyond expectation this season, but they were great. And at 11-8, that's a very good bet in hindsight. Also, Zay Flowers was my best anti-post play, over 875.5 receiving yards. And he accumulated 1,059, I think. So he easily covered. We did pretty well with the anti-post plays, but I think instead of looking back, it's now time to look forward and find some winners for everyone watching at home.
I got one more. King of...
I know, you were waiting. I was trying to just... I don't want to listen to Jamar Chase.
I don't want to talk about this guy. This guy's 12-1. Jamar Chase leading receiving yards, or most receiving yards in the league. That one came out quite nicely, and he was crushing it for the most part of the season. He missed week 1 as well, and he still beat Justin Jefferson by 200 or so yards. So that was very nice. Well done to anyone who followed us in. Go on.
Quick question before we get into these Saturday wildcard games and tips. Jamar Chase next year, fantasy football #1 overall?
Maybe. Yeah, yeah.
What do
I
you mean
like.
maybe? It's a yes or a no. Come
I
on.
liked him this year as the wide receiver one anyway.
Hmm.
Probably overall. It's hard to say if T. Higgins isn't there, then 100%, but it sounds like they're doing everything within their power, including Joe Burrow, to get T. Higgins back.
Yeah.
And T. Higgins even said, I'll take less money to play in Cincinnati. So it looks like T. Higgins is going to be back. But that's a quick look back at some of our anti-post bets. There are plenty more. You can go back on our channel, take a look at those when we were still very excited about the whole season ahead of us. But we've got through it, and we're looking forward towards some wildcard weekend football, starting with the Chargers and the Texans. Two teams who aren't exactly expected to make it to the playoffs, but they've both got a nice opening game. They'll both fancy their chances. The Chargers are 3-point favourites. The over-under's 42.5 in this game. And look, the Chargers are getting good at the right sort of time, and they're getting healthier as well. J.K. Dobbins has come back. Justin Herbert's playing good football. They're a team I didn't expect much from this year, but they're very likeable.
Yeah, moving back to the anti-post tips, and it works perfectly with this game. I also put 2 tips up regarding these 2 teams going into the from the start of the season going into the postseason. I said the Chargers wouldn't make it. Now that's the worst tip I've put up all season. They've been very good, but I didn't anticipate they were going to be this good. J.K. Dobbins has come back from a terrible knee injury, or 2 of them in fact, to be a pretty good running back, and I just didn't foresee that happening. Justin Herbert's O-line has been better this year, and Lad McConkey has really developed into a wide receiver that everyone thought he could be, but it wasn't necessarily a guarantee when he was coming out of college. Quentin Johnson also has worked out how to catch a ball, which has obviously helped them. And Will Dissly has been a good tight end for them. More on him in 1 second. The Houston Texans I also put up as my secondary Super Bowl play and preseason. They could easily get there, but I don't think they will. Their offensive line is definitely the main problem for them. Now, talking about offensive line, I did initially look for sacks in this game. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of sacks on both sides of the ball. Houston Texans D-line is one of the best in the league. I think they rank 4th in sacks so far, and the Chargers rank 6th. And considering these offensive lines just aren't great, I think we're going to see a lot of sacks in the game. Unfortunately, I couldn't see a line, though, so I haven't played the sacks. I'm going to play Will Dissly. Will Dissly over 28.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11. 28.5, is that not very low for Will Dissly? Especially considering the Chargers, they're going to try and run the ball, but the Texans have a great D-line and they're going to try and stop the run. That's going to be the number one angle from Houston. That means that the ball's going to be in Justin Herbert's hands. He's going to have to throw it. Are you going to throw towards DJ Stingley? Probably not. That means that he's either going to likely cover Quentin Johnston and some of Lad McConkey. Lad McConkey's going to get his share. There's no doubt about that. But I think Justin Herbert's going to be looking down the middle of the field, away from Stingley, trying to get the ball out of his hands quickly so he doesn't get that pressure from the D-line. And if that's the case, Will Dissly's the guy, isn't he? He's just going to continue to move the chains for them, especially considering the Chargers are favourites. You are expecting them to move the ball quite regularly in this game. Dissly's likely to get between 4 to 6 targets based on what we've seen this campaign. I think it'll be more towards the higher end, maybe even more than 6. Based on the angle I've just said there about going away from Stingley and trying to get the ball out of the hands early. And if you look at his recent stats, sometimes he covers 28.5 yards, sometimes he doesn't. But when he does, he tends to go pretty much 40, 50, 60 yards. It's not like he's barely covering. I think we could see a pretty good game from Dissly here. And I'm confident that we're going to get a winning bet in the first game here. So Will Dissly, over 28.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11 is my first pick on Saturday.
Yeah, both himself and Johnny Smith have been surprises at how good they've been at the tight end position this year. Was it a specific player you were looking for sacks?
It wasn't. I did see a market on one of the major firms with Danielle Hunter over 0.5, which is probably a good bet at the over because he has got 12 sacks this year. But it was mainly just in the game in total. Total sacks would have been where I was looking, but I didn't see it.
I like how for Hunter you go for his name phonetically rather than the Danielle. You're like, no, you're Danielle.
It's Danielle. It's spelt Danielle. I'm not having Danielle. That is a guy that has been called Danielle and gone, Danielle's a girl's name. I'm taking Danielle. It's not Danielle.
My parents.
Yeah.
It's like, you played for the Vikings, you're Danielle, right? Yep. that's effectively your MO towards that. But that's a look at Will Dissly. The guy who's going to be throwing in the ball is going to be a big factor in this game as well. That's Justin Herbert. I'm going to do a thing here, Tom, because I've been going for weeks about in the playoffs I'm going to do something special. Now, I'm going to open the door into playoff betting for you. Playoff betting is different than regular season betting because players act differently and players have to win now, especially quarterbacks. And I don't mean quarterbacks throwing the ball. I don't mean about them trying to launch it downfield. I don't mean them playing it safe. I mean them running. Quarterbacks in the playoffs run because they panic and they just have to get results now. Let's go back last year to some of the quarterbacks in the playoffs. Brock Purdy, in his last 4 games of the season, he ran the ball 4 times, no more than once in a game. In the playoffs, immediately, 6 carries, 5 carries. In the Super Bowl, 3 carries, 14 yards, 48 and 12. It went up. Jared Goff last year. Jared Goff didn't run the ball at all in the last 2 games. He ran the ball 3 times in his last 4 games. Get into the playoffs. 3 rushing attempts in Wildcard Weekend. Divisional round, 6 attempts. And then he didn't run the ball whatsoever in their final game. You look at Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is a kind of rushing quarterback anyway. I kind of feel we can call him that. He runs the ball a lot. In their final game of the season in week 17, he ran the ball 4 times. Week 15 and 14, he ran the ball 3 and 1. Get to the playoffs. He ran the ball 2 times Wildcard Weekend, and then after that, 6, 6, and 9 times. You look at Jordan Love. Jordan Love barely ran the ball last year. No more than 2 times in the last, or 5 of the last 6 games or so. Get into the divisional round. 5 carries for Jordan Love. Again, because he's panicking. He wants to get the job done. You look at Baker Mayfield last year, who's in the playoffs again this year. He ran the ball once in week 17. He ran the ball 5 times in week 18, but that is also including just 7 yards, and it wasn't pretty stuff from Baker Mayfield. He ran the ball so much more efficiently, though, in the playoffs. 2 carries in both games for 16 yards and 15 yards. Dak Prescott, he ran the ball for 6 of 45 in their Wildcard Weekend game. He ran the ball 2 times in the last couple of games. Lamar Jackson runs. I could go on for so long. Every single quarterback runs the ball more. Lamar Jackson, Mason Rudolph last year, forgot he was even in the playoffs. Joe Flacco, he even ran the ball just that little bit more. He ran the ball 3 times in their Wildcard Weekend defeat. Josh Allen, 8 carries, 12 carries in their 2 playoff games. Have I convinced you, Tom, that this is a way in for betting?
Yes, but I think you've also given a huge spoiler alert to the rest of your selections, not only in this podcast, but in the Sunday Wildcards podcast too.
But we're going to pick and choose them. We're not going to just go for everyone. We're not silly. We're not going to go crazy. But Justin Herbert, we are going to go for. Justin Herbert's been very productive this season, and he's began to run the ball a fair bit more. Middle part of the season, he fell off a little bit in the running game, and then he's begun to get it back. 2 of the last 4 weeks, he's carried the ball. Well, in fact, the last 3 weeks, he's carried the ball 8 times, 3 times, 4 times, 28 yards, 12 yards, and 42 yards. His line for this week, Justin Herbert, is 18.5. I think that's towards the low side. He's had a couple of big games as well in the last few weeks. And again, the Chargers will want to win. They're desperate to win at the moment. They're desperate to prove everybody wrong because everybody at the start of the year, they got rid of the Chargers, including yourself, as you mentioned. I didn't expect anything from the Chargers at all. Suddenly they're in the playoffs and they've got a winnable game where they're favoured on the road in Wildcard Weekend. I think Justin Herbert's going to be running the ball a fair bit. He's begun, as I say, to run the ball a lot in the last few weeks. And again, if he comes under any sort of pressure, he takes off. And 18.5 yards for Justin Herbert, that's 1 carry. He's regularly cutting off bigger runs the times that he does carry the ball. So my first play, Tom, will be Justin Herbert over 18.5 rushing yards. And I wonder where my next few selections will go. But we'll go back to you. You're going to go more boring.
Yeah, more boring? Come
More
on,
boring.
man. A win is a winner.
More boring.
I will say,
interesting here.
what I will say quickly is Justin Herbert is sneaky quick. He's like Baker Mayfield, isn't he? They don't look like the most athletic when it comes to running, but they are sneaky quick. The defenders can't seem to catch them. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he covered. To be honest, I've seen your selections for this weekend. He is one of the better ones, I believe. That line is very low, like you've talked about. And like I said, I think the Chargers are going to have to either go the middle of the field or Herbert's going to be scrambling. And if either of those happen, then I mean we should be celebrating both of our bets winning in the first game this weekend. Moving on to game 2.
How tall is Justin Herbert, by the way?
He's got to be at least 6'4". I don't know exactly, but he is tall.
6'6". He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a tall man, which isn't usually what you get nowadays in the NFL with quarterbacks, is it?
No.
He seems to be drafting a lot of small, agile kind of QBs rather than your Justin Herberts, your Trevor Lawrences, etc.
He's about 2 foot taller than Kyler Murray.
maybe even a little bit more.
Who's your second selection for Saturday?
Yes, the second game on Saturday is the Baltimore Ravens against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, I was very tempted to put up the Ravens -10. I think they're just going to smash the Steelers. They beat them 34-17 back in week 16. So that's kind of a representation of the advantage that the Baltimore Ravens have over the Steelers. 17-point margin there, 10-point favorites this weekend. Is it really going to be much more of a contest? Potentially because of Mike Tomlin's coaching abilities in Pittsburgh, but otherwise I don't think so. However, I hate the line of -10. I don't know about you, but it just feels like the worst possible line. It's like a touchdown and a field goal. The team has won easily, but also the other team has kind of been in it for much of the game. And I don't know, I feel like 10 is the worst number. If it was 9.5, I'd probably play the Ravens minus.
Do you know the worst part about 10?
Go on.
Is that if you're 11 points up, the other team go, let's kick the field goal now. And then, we'll try and get a touchdown and convert. It's like, you're not going to do it. Just get a touchdown now. Stop. You're ruining everyone's bets.
Exactly. It's basically the linchpin for bad beats, a 10-point handicap. So I'm going to go away from it. I do think Baltimore will win this game, but stick with a player prop instead. And it's going to be Mark Andrews, the guy who I have had no hope in all season long, especially at the start of the year. But I'm going to take his over here. Mark Andrews over 44.5 receiving yards at 10-11. My feeling here is that Baltimore are a very good rushing team, probably one of the best in the league. Everyone knows that. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, who I believe you're going to talk about in a minute. Both of those are elite. You've got Justice Hill, who comes in and is extremely agile, dynamic player, explosive, and he can move the ball as well. Keaton Mitchell looks like a good young talent now coming back from injury. Their running game is unbelievable. The passing side of things, Zay Flowers is very good, as already talked about, but he is carrying a knee injury. Rashad Bateman's okay, but only on deep routes. And then they kind of got
Zay Flowers is out, isn't he?
Is he out?
I think he's out. I'll double check this now, but I think he's out this week, and I think he's hoping to be back next week.
Okay, well that just strengthens my opinion. Look, I thought even if he did play, he'd be on a snap count, but if he's out, that strengthens my bet here on Mark Andrews. I think the tight ends are going to be the main passing attack here for Baltimore. Whether that be Andrews, likely a combination of two. I wouldn't be surprised if it was any of those. But I think Andrews is going to get his fair share. Needs 45 yards to cover. He's cleared this line in his 3 of his last 5 games in the regular season. He's become a bigger part of the offense as the year's gone on this year. At the start of the campaign, he was virtually a ghost. And now he's really getting back into the Mark Andrews that we know from last season. They're going to use him a lot against the Steelers. They always do. And with Flowers potentially being out or at least injured, I think Andrews is going to be the first point of call for Lamar in passing down. So give me Mark Andrews over 44.5.
Apparently, John Harbaugh said that Zay Flowers is hopeful about his availability. However, on Tuesday, Flowers missed their first practice of the week.
Even if he plays, he's going to be on a snap count.
Yeah. I mean, it's a game that, honestly, Baltimore, without being ignorant, they kind of expect themselves to make their way through. So if you can do it without risking Zay Flowers too much, then I think you're going to be probably leaning towards that side of things. But you've gone for old man Mark Andrews, as you've labelled him. How old is Mark Andrews, by the way?
I don't know. It feels like about 45. He's probably 29.
Yeah, 29.
Same age as us. Oh, wait, how old are you?
I'm 32 next week.
Happy birthday in advance. Old. I was going to swear that.
Me and Tom did this thing, right, where we just have no idea when each other are born. Like, we're not really on social media where, like, you're on, like, Facebook or whatever and you get your updates. It's like, oh, it's Tom Collins' birthday today. And we just miss that. Every year we miss each other's birthday. And then, like, a month later we go, oh, shoot, happy birthday for, like, a month ago, by the way.
Yeah, we are good friends. So I feel like we should clarify that. But, yeah, we have no idea.
Yeah, you're born in, like, early half of the year.
I am.
You're like
you've narrowed it down to 6 months.
You're like May,
April. I'll give it to you. April.
Yeah, April 14th,
5th. Presents in the post, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, you're running out of time on my one. 13th, and then I'm going to be a million years old. But you know who isn't a million years old? And
is it Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I'm 4 years older than him. Lamar Jackson, though, is better than me in most ways. He's a very, very good rushing quarterback, as we've seen, and we're not going to waste our time talking about him throwing the ball because that's boring. We're going to talk about him running the ball. Lamar Jackson last year, he was mentioned by me at the start of my spiel before talking about Justin Herbert, in that he carried the ball a lot more in the playoffs last year. In fact, in both playoff games he played in, he went over his line this week of 48.5. He had 11 carries in the divisional round for 100 yards and 8 carries for 54 in the conference round. That was still a step up from how many times he had carried the ball in the last 2 games of the regular season. That was 6 and 7. So again, he will look to be running the ball more. And he's running the ball a lot. He made an active choice start of this season to cut down on a bit of weight. He wanted to run the ball more. And then halfway through the season, he was kind of losing his way a little bit. He had weeks 8, 9, 10. He carried the ball 8, 3, and 7, and then 4 the week after that. And he came out and said, look, I need to run the ball again more. I'm hurting the team by not using my legs. And then the last few games, 6, 9, 4, and 9, I expect those numbers to go up once again. And 48.5 for Lamar Jackson really isn't that much whatsoever. I expect him to carry the ball a ton. I'm hoping it's early, or I'm hoping Pittsburgh score, because let's say Baltimore got up 2 scores, suddenly they might start sort of hedging their bets and looking forward to next week, and maybe he doesn't run the ball quite as much. However, he's been running the ball from the get-go in most games. I think Lamar Jackson will go over this line of 48.5, and I think he's one of the more normal ones, isn't he, quarterbacks on a rushing side of things for Wildcard Weekend. But I still don't think 48.5 is too high.
No, I think we've both bet him this year and definitely tipped him in rushing yards overs. I think he's been pretty good for us as well. So, yeah, I'm not against that at all. I love Lamar Jackson. I love the Ravens this year. So I think they're going to get a lot of yards. A lot of players are going to get a lot of yards. And Jackson's pretty reliable, especially when it comes to the read option and design QB runs.
Who was the first winning selection for the regular season on turf and touchdowns?
I can't remember.
Lamar Jackson rushing.
Was it?
Over 50.5 in week 1 against Kansas City.
Nice. How do you know that?
Because it was me.
Wait, hold on. I'm just checking. Correct. Hold on though. When I put up Derrick Henry anytime touchdown, I'm gonna.
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson was the first tip mentioned on the podcast, so therefore.
I see what you mean now. I thought you meant actually when it happened.
No. Yeah, Derrick Henry went over like after the game. So. No, Derrick Henry was like first drive, but yeah. Whatever. But yeah, I'm right. Right, 2 selections from us both. We will have a separate video for the Sunday games, and you can link back to this one as well. But Sunday games will be coming up shortly. Our 2 selections. Tom, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, 2 selections on Saturday's Wildcard games. By the way, you've talked about the Sunday pod. There should be a link above us at this point of the video. That's my job.
Don't mess it up. Do not mess it up.
And if there isn't a link, there'll be a link at the end of the video on the screen. And if not, just head down to Turf and Touchdowns, click subscribe.
If I couldn't do my job, just do it yourself, all right? I don't hold your hand. Just find the link and do it yourself.
Yeah, if you cannot find it, just click Turf Touchdowns. The video will be up at the same time virtually as this one. So go over to that one immediately after this to find out our Sunday picks. I know if you want to do accumulators or anything like that, you want to cover all games over the weekend. So go straight to that video from this one. My 2 on Saturday, 2 tips are Will Dissly for the LA Chargers, over 28.5 receiving yards. That's a 10-11 in the first game. And then the second game is my play of the day. It's Mark Andrews, over 44.5 receiving yards for the Baltimore Ravens, again at 10-11.
I'm going to do things in reverse. I'm going to go Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens, over 48.5 rushing yards. And I love the Justin Herbert line. That's my play of the day. Over 18.5 rushing yards. They are both at 10-11, and I think both will land. But that's us done for the first part of Wildcard Weekend. We're going to be a lot busier on our next video because we've got a few more games to be looking forward to, 4 of them to be precise. But let us know in the comments down below who you like for Sunday, who your Super Bowl winner is, and who your Super Bowl matchup is, and any selections that you may well have for this weekend. Click subscribe down below, turn notifications on. You'll be notified whenever we put anything up. We'll be back to horse racing next week as well, alongside our NFL videos. But have I missed anything, Tom?
I don't think so. I think we're all good to go and record that Sunday pod, mate.
Let's do it. Are we going to change clothes, or are we just going to do the same ones?
They can find out. Yeah, go and find out what our wardrobe is. It's real exciting stuff. But until we speak to you, hopefully, in a couple of minutes' time, stay safe. Look after one another.